Hello, it's your main man, Sean Something to Write To Lewis, aka your friendly neighborhood Something to Write To, coming at you live and direct with Living With My Wife, Batman and Hip Hop episode number 22. Now, we recorded episode number 22 on a live stream yesterday on Twitch. Turns out Mr. Savory Avery's computer was not so savory and did not save the video. You see how I did that there?
Yeah, I like it.
Sitting across from me today is not Dale Does 'Em Dirty or Mr. Hercules. I am sitting with the I am sitting with Mr. Notorious Nathan from Nonsensical Rambling.
What's up?
So, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good, actually. It's my mom's birthday, so we've been, eating a lot of food. Food's great, man.
Yeah. Do you know that you're probably our first special guest?
Oh, really?
Like, somebody from the outside circle. Because I brought friends in and shit.
Yeah.
Not anybody that's worth mentioning, at least. Not in anybody else's book.
I feel glad for being mentioned then. For sure.
Right on, man. So I want to go ahead and jump into it. I got a million and one things I want to throw at you, and I just want to see what you got to say.
Alrighty.
See what you have for me. The Punisher trailer, man. I know you viewed it. Are you excited?
Oh yeah, super excited. I thought John Bernthal did a really good job
yes.
in the second season of Daredevil. Actually, one of my biggest complaints with the second season of Daredevil was that it in the second half kind of moved away from the Punisher storyline. And I like that enough, but I think it's a good show and everything like that. But I like the idea. I like what they did with him more than I liked what they were doing with Elektra. Like the trial of the Punisher and everything like that. I like that a lot more than what, because to me it felt like with Elektra and Daredevil, it eventually became kind of like a video game, like a go here and do this to go here and clear out the guys, and then you're going to get the objective. And then, there's the next episode, and you're going to go to the new place, and you're going to clear out the same guys, and then you're going to get the objective, and it's like, and for like 3 or so episodes, I was like, man, that's just lame.
I mean, when you put it like that, it is lame, but I don't know, I'm a sucker for the fucking Marvel shows. I love them.
Yeah, they're all great.
And they're amazing to me. I loved the usage of the Punisher. I didn't want it to become Daredevil and Punisher's TV show. You know what I'm saying? So I felt they cut him out. And then I think they reinserted him. You know what I'm saying?
I really enjoyed the ending with him and everything like that happened. So that was pretty good.
I'm very excited. So what are some of your expectations for the new Punisher show?
I'm really hoping it'll be a lot darker than most of the shows we've gotten so far.
Darker than Daredevil.
Darker than Daredevil, I think for sure. Just because, and not so much in the sense of like the tone. I think the tone's about the same where it can be, at least in that first season of Daredevil. But more like he's willing to kill, and not just kill, but like mass murder pretty much. So I feel like he should there should be more deaths, more consequences more than what Daredevil did. Because Daredevil, a lot of times in his first season, and some not so much in the second season, but in the first season, if he got into too much trouble with the gangs or something like that, well, then he'd just like duck off into the night nurse's apartment and be gone for like 5 days or so while he healed up and something like that. And they they were kind of moving at a slow pace, and I get that's the world building, but it let him kind of not have so many consequences, because if he got in too deep, it kind of felt like he could just tap out for a little bit and then get right back into it whenever he wanted to on his schedule. And I feel like the Punisher, because he's so final with his justifications, like he kills people, that it should have more immediate consequences, something that he'll get tangled up and can't really pull out of as easy. He can't just lay low, because they'll actively come looking for him and try and find him and stuff. When Daredevil laid low, they're like, well, we don't even know if this guy's like, if it's like one guy, or if everyone's just lying about the devil of Hell's Kitchen, or if he's even real and stuff like that. With the Punisher, it's like, oh no, he's real, because it's not a bunch of guys getting beat up and saying they all saw some like Hercules type guy. They're all dying. We can see their blood splatter and remains, and there's guns, and so I think it should be more final and more dark in the tone of that kind of finalization of his consequences should really catch back up to him.
I can dig the hell out of that, man. So what's an ideal body count looking like for you then in this show? Because you said you want to see some.
I really liked. I think he should have a pretty high. I think he should get close to 100. I think it should be like a John Wick movie kind of.
Do you think we should have like a counter?
Yeah, definitely.
When everybody kills.
Yeah, someone should definitely do a counter because one of the really scenes I liked was when they introduced the Punisher. And the lead up to Daredevil even finding out who he was, like if he was one guy and stuff like that.
I love their dialogue.
Because it's like he killed so many people so quickly that it was like, the bar scene, and then it's just all of them are dead right there, and that's a good 10 people. And then you hear about all these people dying around the city and stuff like that. And Daredevil finally, finds the guy hung up in the meat locker or whatever. And he's like, who's doing this to you? I'll find the organization. Yeah. The guy's like, it's just one guy, like that. So I feel like it should the body count should definitely be in the hundreds because that's what the Punisher is.
I agree 100%.
He can.
I want Punisher to kill everybody.
Yeah, he can kill as many people as like an organization should be able to kill. And so I feel that number should be pretty high. I think the hundreds should definitely be what they are aiming for. At least 100 or so.
Real quick, just if you guys are wondering what that noise is, that's me hitting my e-cig, and if you were wondering why I was coughing, it's because I just got a big mouthful of burnt coil, and it was terrible. The worst taste I've ever had in my mouth. No, I agree, man. Punisher's my third favorite superhero. I don't know if you're aware, but I'm very excited. I'm also hoping for a dark tone. Darker than Daredevil would be amazing. I'm a huge fan of dark entertainment. I prefer things to be darker, grittier. The darker you go, the better it is for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm very excited for it. Man, like I said, though, I love their dialogue. Just how when Punisher talks to Daredevil, just
how
he calls him red and stuff like that.
The show's really well written.
I agree.
All the Marvel shows, their writing's usually pretty strong, except for maybe like Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
Oh my god!
In fact, that was what the main problem was that the writing was set in such a high bar that whenever it's not even like a terrible show, it just wasn't as good as what we've got. Right. So everyone just hated it immediately because it was like, man, the writing used to be so good, and now it's like they're kind of phoning it in on some of these.
So I was such a sucker. I'm such a sucker to superhero entertainment, period, man. I'm throwing my wallet regardless. I'm throwing my wallet at Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern film because I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But I enjoyed Iron Fist. I loved Luke Cage. Iron Fist is probably my least favorite out of the shows.
Yeah, same.
I loved him. I loved it. The fighting wasn't as well choreographed as Daredevil. You can't give us a Daredevil show that's has fighting like that, the hallway scenes and such. And
that was a big problem I had kind of with Iron Fist, was that the fighting wasn't as good as Daredevil. Yes. What I really didn't like about it was that he was supposed to be like, he's like the best at kung fu and everything, and I get that they were trying to make it an origin story and that he's finding himself and all that. I was like, the whole basis of his character is that he's like some kung fu legend, basically.
Definitely.
So he shouldn't get tagged by like these normal guys on the street.
I agree.
No matter, even if there's like 5 coming at him, I'm like, I feel like he should just run through these dudes.
And the problem I have is, man, with the way they've displayed Daredevil's fighting and Iron Fist fighting, I just feel like Daredevil right now could kick Iron Fist's ass.
Well, he did in the Defenders. I mean, they had the fight scene and he beat him. So
yeah,
I mean, it was like,
and I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like Iron Fist being a kung fu master and all that.
Yeah, it should be better than Daredevil.
Definitely, man. You liked the Defenders too?
Yeah, I liked the Defenders. I think it was a good return to form for them. Kind of. I think I like Daredevil the best, and as each show came out, it kind of degraded a little for me. Like, I didn't like Jessica Jones as good as Daredevil. I didn't like Luke Cage as good as Jessica Jones. Yeah. And I didn't like Iron Fist as good as Luke Cage. But when Defenders came back out, I felt like it's on par with like that first season of Daredevil and stuff like that. So
you're killing me not liking these shows because I was, like I said, just a sucker for all of them.
Yeah, see, I'm
melting.
I don't know. I can't do it. I love Daredevil, but the other 3, I kind of fell off.
Oh, you don't like Sweet Christmas?
I do like Luke Cage.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool, man! I just love Jessica.
I should say I'll take it back. I probably like Luke Cage better than Jessica Jones, I would say,
really?
Because I wasn't too big. I remember not liking Jessica Jones a lot, and I maybe should give it a rewatch because
that's what it took for me.
Yeah, because I remember coming off of Daredevil into Jessica Jones, and it was such a tone change. I feel that it kind of ruined it for me too.
Right on.
Just because Daredevil was like whenever the bad guy was there in Daredevil, and if it was right in front of him, he was gonna knock him out. Like he was going for it, like right then. So whenever Kilgrave appears in front of Jessica, and they have like this little banter, and she's like not really just like charging him. I like Daredevil, even if she doesn't think it would work. That's what I liked about Daredevil. He's like, oh, even when he's like beaten down, and that whole scene in the warehouse with Nobu and Fisk shows up. Fisk shows up, and he's like, and the whole take your shot thing is like he's so beaten down, but he's gonna go for it anyway, whether he thinks he can do it or not. And that's what I guess I didn't like about Jessica Jones.
That's just because of who he is, though.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I think I should give it a rewatch because I was coming off of that, and then seeing Jessica Jones be all hesitation. It's her whole thing is psychological game, so she's got like a bunch of hesitation and a bunch of not going for it. So I wasn't ready for the tone shift a lot. It killed the hype for me a little bit when I watched it.
I love how human they're making these heroes.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And I will say right now, I love the shows more than any of the movies.
Really?
That came out, Marvel and DC. To me, the shows are.
I think I like the movies, except for Daredevil. Daredevil, I think I compared to the movies, most of the movies. Yeah. But I really like the Winter Soldier. That's my phone going off.
Winter Soldier was cool. I enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed Winter Soldier. I liked Civil War enough. I thought it was what it needed to be. My biggest complaint always is that they don't have the rights to all their characters. So
yes,
and I'm a big comic junkie. So whenever I hear Civil War, I'm thinking like the big spread pages the big splash pages wherever it's like all of them. And it's everyone coming across together. So when I see it on screen, and I see the screen cap of like. It's like 6 guys on one side and 6 guys on the other side. And I'm like, that's the fight. I'm like, it's cool. It's cool because we never got it before. The fight was good.
Spider-Man made that scene for me.
Yeah, he made the scene. And it's not a bad movie by any means. But just compared to that comic book, it's like, man, they've really had a lot of missed potential. I wish they wouldn't go as early with. I wish they would have just waited or really shucked out the money to go ahead and get all their characters back over to them and stuff like that. So,
how deeply do you get into these films with your emotions? Because I'm a big, big baby. So, like, whenever on Civil War, when Iron Man looks at Captain America and he killed my mom, dude. Yeah. I dropped tears. I can't handle it.
Not too much. I want to say there was a movie recently. Oh, no, but it wasn't MCU. MCU, not too emotionally invested in them.
Yeah.
Maybe because they're a little more on the whimsical side and stuff, but I wasn't really too emotionally invested. Whenever Cap fought Iron Man, I thought Iron Man was a little more justified in that final fight for having a reason to fight him.
Yes. I hated that.
Yeah.
It was done well.
Yeah, it was done well.
I just hated dealing with that.
I wasn't so emotionally wrapped up in that one, but I remember being very emotionally wrapped up in Logan.
Yes, that made me cry.
That one got me. So I guess not the MCU, but I think Sony sometimes does it with their X-Men movies. They make it feel a little more down to earth to me.
Yeah.
And then
I cried to Wonder Woman, man. When spoilers, when Steve Trevor dies, I cried.
Yeah. See, okay, so DC is a little different from me, where it gets me with the feels, and this is kind of how Star Wars is also. That it's not just like a sad moment won't make me cry per se. But like a really well shot moment, or a really like where the score comes up and it's not even like sad, it's just really cool, or really like the accumulation of all the emotions leading up to that moment, that will get me to tear up. So like if it's really well shot, like when Wonder Woman was climbing up the ladder and stuff, and you see her come out with all the suit and all the gritty around her and everything like that, that one made me give me the goosebumps and gave me the feels.
Are you talking about No Man's Land?
Yeah, No Man's Land scene.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So that I thought was cool because of the dialogue right before, when she was like, "This is what I came for," or whatever, and she just goes and does it. I'm like, yes, this is perfect. And that kind of emotional rush, I think it's just the rush of emotions you get. That flood kind of makes me tear up more than like a sad emotion. And that kind of worked in Star Wars too, like in The Force Awakens. Whenever
still haven't seen it.
You still haven't seen it?
I have not.
I can't spoil it for you.
I haven't seen that or Rogue One.
Oh my god!
I have missed on both.
Well, then I can't spoil it. But there's a moment in The Force Awakens where it starts, and you'll know it, you'll see it, but it starts to play the old Luke Skywalker themes. They use when he's doing the trench run, and it's like, it's got the big drums, and it's like dun 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 dun, but then it like stops for a minute, and it's like that dun 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 dun, and it's like he used the Force Luke like that. That same theme song comes on in a moment at the very end of The Force Awakens, and it's like this huge emotion, and it's like Luke Skywalker's theme song too. And I'm not talking about the very end because you've probably seen like the gist of that and stuff.
At the very end, isn't that where you see?
It's like yeah. It's not that scene.
Okay, that's what I was thinking you were talking about.
No. It's a different scene, but it uses his music. It uses that old like use the Force music, and when it plays, it's like. It was like that. It was all quiet. Like the tone was all quiet. It was really a dark moment. And then all of a sudden like a twist happens. And then all of a sudden it's like playing that music. And I was like, oh my God, that was perfect. Like perfectly shot with the score. And then it, pans out and it's got the big, like beautiful shot and stuff like that. So,
right on, man.
So the flood of emotions, I think, gets me a little more than actual sad moments in movies. I think that would make me more of a sucker for your movie if you're making it.
So I'm loving the things you are saying in regards to movies and stuff and just the way you analyze them, man. You seem to be a movie critic, a film buff.
Yeah.
As I, say I am. What are some of your favorite classic movies? Are you into like Tarantino films?
Yeah, I like Tarantino.
What's your Tarantino film? Let's go there.
Obviously, Pulp Fiction.
Yes, thank you.
You gotta include that. I mean, if you're putting Quentin Tarantino on the list, you gotta include Pulp Fiction.
The reason I said that because right off the bat, I just wanted to talk to you about Pulp fucking Fiction.
Yeah,
because that's one of my favorite films.
Yeah,
we don't even got to do Tarantino.
Yeah,
I just love Pulp Fiction.
When you say classical, what do you mean? Like you talking like just old or?
I'm talking just old. I'm not talking black and white. We can go there if you want.
So let me think. Let me try and think. So when I think of classical movies, I think of course of the old Star Wars, like the original OT.
Of course.
All three of those movies I think are classics. Oh gosh, let me see. I want to say the old Batman movies, but I don't really think of them as in like a classical.
But I mean, they're older though.
They're older.
None of them to me stand out in a classical sense.
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's not like Star Wars where it's like a whole generational thing. Like,
I will say my favorite old Batman is Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton, yeah, he's a good Batman.
Nobody's messing with Affleck to me though, personally.
Yeah, that's true. I think he's the best
Glad
interpretation. Yeah.
I would have Keaton, had to stop recording.
Yeah. Keaton's pretty good. He's probably one of my favorites too. Oh gosh,
what's a movie from like your childhood, man, that you still love to this day and you could still watch over and over? Or what is a movie that you can just watch over and over? I know one of mine.
Okay, so I got a movie list. I could just tell you my favorite movies.
Go ahead, hit 'em. I don't have a movie list.
So The Matrix, the first Matrix movie.
Okay, where they did the slow mo.
The slow mo, yeah, he did the Matrix. I love the Matrix trilogy. Usually when I talk about movies, a lot of my favorite movies come in a trilogy. So I'll just say the Matrix trilogy has got to be in my top.
That counts as one to me.
Yeah, the whole trilogy counts as one. Just because it was kind of new at the time. It's kind of no one really expected it. It was out of nowhere with its ideas and stuff like that. A lot of the little stuff they're saying in the movie makes sense, like as far as computers go and stuff like that. Like messing up signals to figure out where you are and stuff like that because you're the one that's not sending out an output, and just little stuff they'd say. If you know a little bit of, and you don't even got to be like into like coding and all that, but if you just know like enough of it, if you listen to like just little stuff they were spouting, it was really technically correct or made sense in their own universe. When I say technically correct, like if that universe exists and that law makes sense. I love it. I guess I should preface this with I love movies that have world building that makes sense in their own. Like they don't just cut. I hate movies that are like, oh, this is magic, chalk it up to magic. So and then it says
give
like
us an example of a shitty ass movie
like
that does that.
Oh gosh.
I
don't want to say Harry Potter because everyone's going to get mad at me.
What?
So I think Harry Potters are good movies. I wouldn't say they're a shitty movie. But as far as my example goes for not liking the world building, I would say Harry Potter because I like their potions aspect. Because they're like, okay, mix this because this has an alchemical aspect and this has an alchemical aspect. And you mix them together then this is going to happen and it makes sense. I don't like it because the spells are like, well, how do you use the killing spell? Oh, well, it's just how much concentration you put into it. And it's like, well, dang, I'm glad you don't got freaking Hal Jordan in there to come up with like the best, like be the strongest wizard of all just because he can concentrate better. And then how stuff works is like, oh, it's just magic. And I'm like,
can I tell you my favorite part of
me.
Harry Potter?
What's that?
It's the score.
The score. Oh, yes.
I love the music to Harry Potter. I've fallen asleep.
Who did that? Was that wasn't Danny Elfman, was it?
I'm uncertain.
It was someone famous, and I remember hearing it and being like, Oh, that makes total sense because he's done it. Everything.
I felt it was amazing. I've been getting really into Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer's good. Yes.
Yes, sir. I
want to say it was someone we all know. I want to even say that it was who did the Star Wars stuff.
I usually have a fact checker with me.
Yeah.
So.
Oh God. I'm losing my credibility by the second. Now that I'm brain farting on who does the music for Star Wars.
As far as Geek World Network, you've already earned your.
I know, but if anyone listens, especially like I got a couple friends that are huge Star Wars nerds that I go back and forth with all day, and they're like, I can hear them right now screaming through their phone, like, "Oh my God, can you not nail this?"
I don't know this. You know who did this?
Williams, John Williams.
Yeah.
I want to say it was someone like John Williams or someone like that that did the score for Harry Potter, or Danny Elfman. Who did the score for the original Batmans and stuff like that. I want to say it's someone like that who it's one or the other. But yeah, I was like, when I heard it, I was like, that makes total sense because that theme song's so popular and they just make like those classic songs and stuff like that.
I can dig that.
So that's good. Not a movie, but another example that I don't like that I think shitty world building is Game of Thrones.
I haven't watched it, but I hear people love it.
Oh, it's great. It's a great show, and like I said, it doesn't really break the movie for you. This is just what I love and what I think are shitty examples of it. But like their whole universe is like their world is their seasons last years. So like winter lasts like 7 years and summer lasts like 7 years and stuff. And they've asked the author, like, well, how does that work? And they're like, is it like a space thing? Where's their planet position? And he's just like, oh, it's magic. And I'm like, well, that's just a cop. It's just it's a cop out to me, and I hate when movies do that. So back to my point, not to be a nonsensical rambler.
There you go.
Yeah. But back to my point was, so the movies that I like are The Matrix because it kind of makes sense in their universe. Like all the rules they come up with, all the little stuff they come up with makes sense in the Matrix universe. They've set the rules, they follow them, and then anytime they bend the rules or do something different that's outside the box, it makes sense that they could do that and they explain it. The other ones would be the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
And that's just the fantasy nerd in me because I'm a huge fantasy fan. I read fantasy constantly. That is like the only genre I've really been reading lately. And, Tolkien he's like the grandfather of world building. He showed everyone how to do it. Like that's why I like D&D and like just anything. That's, your elves, your dwarves, your everything. Everything came from J.R.R. Tolkien. So, and he set the classic, how to do the adventure. The hero's quest, if you will, of... the young, naive hobbit, meets the old wise wizard who dies off in the middle, and then they go, but there's someone else, and he's a hidden king, and he's they all go to the end, and that's how it works. And he set up the original quest. He set up like how the original like fantasy races and stuff like that. He really came up with it, and I really thought the movies were good. I know some really purists that are like, oh, I don't agree with the interpretations of the movie. I'm like, shut up, just shut up. So they're good movies, I feel. And then the last movie trilogy would be Star Wars. So those are my three favorites would be Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and the Matrix trilogy. Would definitely be.
You're not a fan of the Dark Knight trilogy, or?
See, I just ripped on the Tolkien purists that are like, oh, I don't like his interpretation of it, and now I'm about to be like, well, he's not really, he's Batman in the modern world. So I really like the Dark Knight trilogy.
I enjoy it.
It definitely works for what he was going for. He's going for like a more real, like what if Batman was in the real world?
Definitely.
And that is what Batman looks like in the real world. But as far as what my problems go with it is not like in a movie aspect. I think they're phenomenal movies.
Let me tell you my problem first. Because I have one problem.
Yeah.
Because I'm easy to please, man. I'm easy to please when it comes to entertainment. My problem with it is Christian Bale's voice. After seeing College Humor on YouTube, I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh yeah.
So now every time I watch that film, I just
where he's like, coughing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can't deal with it anymore. I don't know. It's become comical every time I watch it now. So, what are your problems with it?
My problems with it would probably be the fact that it wasn't really a true interpretation of the characters, any of them. So, like, it's not the comic book. I mean, and I get it. That's what he was going for, and those are great movies. They totally deserve all the praise they got. Heath Ledger won the Oscar posthumously. He gave a great performance and stuff. It's just not, and that's why I say this is a real nitpicky, criticism of it because it's just not. They are good movies, but Batman wasn't really Batman like I thought Ben Affleck was. Like Ben Affleck was able to take a room full of like 10 guys and just plow through them like they were nothing. Like he was doing super. And Batman's so strong and peak human condition in DC that it's like he can do stuff like Captain America can. Like it's like a super soldier serum. He's just trained himself to be that strong. But it's like it's really stuff that really is borderline. You really couldn't do this. You couldn't lift you couldn't throw that. It's too heavy. Like he's a 1-tonner. He can lift a ton of stuff. He can break Olympic records, and his body's not just deteriorating on him and stuff like that. So he wasn't just running through guys. He was a good combatant. He was able to fight a bunch of people and win and beat squadrons SWAT teams and stuff like that and win competently. But he did it in a way that's kind of like like my favorite scene in The Dark Knight is whenever the tower scene, whenever he fights the SWAT team. That's my favorite scene of all time because I think that's as close to Batman as they got in the whole movie. Not so far as his personality, but just like what he does, what he looks like. Because whenever they're like, it's the whole SWAT team and they're all fighting him and he doesn't actually knock out anyone. That's what comic book Batman would have done. He would have just knocked out the whole team. Like they would have all been on the ground, just knocked out. But he wasn't knocking them out. He wasn't even really winning the fight. He was just hitting them and wrapping them. And what they didn't see was he was wrapping them all up with that cable. And so he's hitting one and throws them out one way and has the cable tied around. He does it to the whole SWAT team. My favorite scene is when the helicopter shines the light on him and they're like, we got him, he's out of the game or whatever. And he just kicks the guy off the edge and then all the SWAT team comes off the edge and and in 1 second where they think he's down and out, it turns out he was actually had the upper hand the whole entire time in that fight. And they thought they were winning, but really they have all just lost and they didn't know it yet. So I thought that was the closest to Batman as far as he looks and as far as he feels in his comic books that they got. I thought they nailed the personality conflict. I thought they nailed a lot of the character relationships, especially between him and the Joker. I didn't feel Heath Ledger's Joker was a very comic booky Joker, but I did feel it worked for the movie. I thought the performance was worthy of an Oscar.
Who's your live action Joker?
It's got to be Heath Ledger. I mean, he's not true to the comics. But he's probably the best Joker we've got live action.
I agree. What do you think of Jared Leto?
I would have liked to see more of him in the movie.
You're not counting him out yet?
No, not yet.
So many people have.
The problem with him, and this was a problem I said actually when the movie first came out, was that when I see Ben Affleck's Batman, and I see him in the suit, and I see him standing with the small ears and the big Dark Knight Returns symbol, and the color scheme of all this stuff, I look at that and I say, that looks like Batman. That makes me think that the people in charge of his movie know who Batman is because they were able to nail what he looks like and his demeanor, and it makes me confident in the movie because I'm like, okay, they've clearly done their research. They know what he looks like. They know who he is. They know what he's going to be like. So when I look at the other side is when I look at the Joker, Jared Leto's Joker, and I see all the tattoos he's got and, how skinny he kind of is, and he's not really, and the lipstick, he doesn't have any of the scars on his face. The lipstick's not quite right. It's just regular lipstick. And I see all that and I think, okay, well, this doesn't make me confident because it makes me think they don't know the character because he doesn't look anything like the character. So I get taking your own original spin on it, but it doesn't make me confident in the movie. And that kind of played into it too. So that's how I feel about how he is as a Joker, is like, I didn't see enough of him to really say he was
and that's the truth.
Redeeming.
And the big thing with me, man, is, not to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But the big thing with me too is like, to be my Joker, and Ben Affleck is already my Batman, so I'm kind of hypocritical when saying this, excuse the flies, is I need to see their chemistry. I need to see those two together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That will signify at least Jared Leto as my Joker. I need to see how he is with Batman. I need to see their relationship. That's very important to me.
Yeah, the dynamic's got to be there for sure. And that's something I really liked about the Dark Knight trilogy was the interrogation scene, wherever they're both in the room at the same time, and they're talking to each other. Yeah, that scene was just nailed the dynamic between Batman and the Joker, because Batman, was clearly trying to understand him and truly trying to reach out there, and Joker was just coming out of left field. And actually, one thing I feel like doesn't get talked enough in that movie is how Joker was like lying to everyone the whole time. Because the whole movie he goes on about to Harvey Dent about how he's not the guy with the plan or whatever like that, and how he needs to introduce anarchy and it's fair and all that to get him to turn. But it turns out the Joker really was the guy with the plan the whole time. He was just lying to him the whole time. Because he said he had nothing to do with Rachel's death or anything like that, but he did. He told Batman the wrong address on purpose, knowing Batman would probably go for... Because he said that's the whole reason he captured him. Did Harvey know that you were with his little girlfriend or whatever like that? So he knew who to capture. And he knew Batman was going to choose Rachel if he goes after him. So he switched the addresses on him so he'd save Harvey and Rachel would die because he knew Batman was going to get there. He's Batman. He counts on Batman beating his traps. So he did that. Then he told Harvey that he had nothing to do with that that he was locked up in Gordon's unit the whole time, and that it was someone on Gordon's side. So that way he would go and like kill all the mob bosses. So that way it played into the even bigger plan of at the end of the movie when he's like, no, I have an ace in the hole. I didn't count it all between a fist fight with you. I really just corrupted Harvey Dent, and now he's going to go off, and everyone that he's put away is going to get off, and that counts all the mob bosses that you've been trying to put away this whole time, and they're all going to turn right back to me because they don't like you. So really, I really like that aspect in the interrogation scene where he's trying to convince Batman that he's a better class of criminal and that, that he's not this guy with the plan. And he goes, I wouldn't know what to do with the plan if I got it. I'm like a rabid dog, when really he's just been lying to everyone. He's been one step ahead of everyone, and everyone's just kind of taking him at face value because of that. And I feel like I wish, obviously everyone says this, and you wish Heath Ledger didn't pass, because the dynamic of Batman and the Joker was so strong in that movie. It could have easily led to a comic book dynamic where Batman learns his lesson. He learns what Joker was up to that whole time and how he was lying to everyone and how he was...
Because that was his first dealing with the Joker.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
But Batman, when you read him in the comics, he's always like, well, I know the Joker. No one's ever dealt with the Joker before. I know what he's up to. I know he's lying to you. I know he's one step ahead of him, like that. And he was getting to that point by the end of the movie whenever Gordon was about to shoot all the clowns, and he replaced the doctor with the clowns, and he's like, it's not that simple with the Joker. It never is. He was just starting to get that dynamic. So obviously, you say you wish Heath Ledger never passed, for just, as a human being. R.I.P. R.I.P. reasons. But for another reason, too, just because we never got to see that dynamic really flesh out like it could have been. And, really be the Batman from the comic books that knows his Joker and knows what he's up to and starts to one-up him more often than not.
Right on. I can dig that, man. Let's do this. Let's put a spin on things. I'm loving everything you're saying, man. You are brilliant when it comes to conversation. So what I want to do is, I got to know about what you do, you know, as far as the Nonsensical Ramblings website. Tell me about you as a human. Who are you? What are you about? You comfortable with me asking those questions?
Yeah, I normally just kind of wake up and do my own thing, I guess. I just, I wake up, I go to work, got to make a living. I support my wife and my kid.
That's a good thing.
And then when I'm not out and about during the day, I train jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yeah. 4 to 5 days a week.
Look at you, man.
So I do that every night pretty much. And that's pretty much all I do if I'm not sitting at home writing a review or going out to the movies.
Where did your love for comics start?
My love for comics started around the first Arkham game, I think.
Okay.
Maybe. I had always read comics before. I never really collected them. I just kind of would read them, and I had a collection, but it wasn't like a box collection. It was just a random assortment of, like, on my bookshelf of different comic books.
Shouts out to Kurt's collection.
Yeah. And
he has the same thing.
Yeah, and I really never started collecting until around the time I graduated high school. Maybe a little before that. I can't remember exactly when the first Arkham game came out. And that game, because it was so much like, this is what Batman does, that kind of got me more into... I was always into Batman, but that one really, like, sold me on it. And so I just started collecting from then on with my friend Andrew, because he was like, you play this game so much, why don't you actually read Batman? And I was like, well, I've read his main comics, like The Dark Knight Returns and stuff like that. I had, just because, I bought, graphic novels. I never collected. And he was like, well, let's just. He's like, I was like, I don't even know where to buy them. So he takes me to the comic book shop.
Which shop was it?
I think it was just a vintage stock at that time.
Terrible choice.
Now I collect over at Comic Empire at 31st.
Yes, sir. The number one comic shop in Tulsa. That's my favorite. That's why I do it. I love that comic shop.
So, but back then when I first started collecting, I think I was living in OKC, and I just went up to a vintage stock, and I was like, I didn't know anything about them, and just picked out random Batman. Actually, what I did was, I think, because that's how I started collecting his series. So I was like, well, I want to know more about Batman, but I don't just want to read, because at that time everything was kind of they weren't quite New 52 yet, so it was the end of Post-Crisis, and you had to have read a lot of Detective Comics to know what was going on currently in Detective Comics. Same with Batman's main storyline. Same with all of them. And that's why they had the whole New 52 was to try and reset the continuity so you could jump back in if you were a new reader. But I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to pick up a comic and not know what the heck was going on in it. So I started collecting a lot of Batman's most recommended out of all of them that I didn't have in collections. And I picked up The Long Halloween. I read it, loved it. I picked up Dark Victory, which was a sequel to that. I read it, loved it. I started collecting all his major trades in comic book form instead of just buying the graphic novels, and that's really kind of just what I picked up. All of them except for the super rare ones you can never find, like Year One and Dark Knight Returns or originals.
Have you read Year One?
Yeah. I like it enough. I
enjoy it.
I still think that I like The Long Halloween the best. Maybe because it was one of the ones I first started with. And after that, I kind of branched out into other superheroes, starting mostly with DC Comics. I was never a big Marvel fan. I know a lot of people are. And I do collect some Marvel comics. I was always a Deadpool guy myself, and Spider-Man.
Have you read the Spidey Deadpool run?
Yes, I have. It was pretty funny, actually.
I like it, yeah.
I read him in Carnage. I read a lot of Deadpool. A little bit of X-Men, not too much of them because there was a lot. And at the time, and especially now, Marvel's just got some problems with their comic book continuity. They do a lot of number ones. They do a lot of the same character.
And they're charging over the head.
So I didn't really get too much into Marvel. Even back then, I wasn't too big a Marvel fan. I was more of a DC fan. So I was a real big Justice League guy. And I think that also has to do with the fact that a lot of the writers I liked were over at DC at the time, like Jeff Johns, Jeff Loeb.
So did you already have writers you liked when you hopped in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love Jeff Loeb. He had worked on... Now I'm going to forget it. I can't remember. Him and Neil Gaiman had worked on something previously, and I knew about them just from reading books. And I had heard that they were doing the Batman. They had done Batman stories. Like Gaiman did Batman Odyssey. I think he had a hand in a lot of old Batmans. I can't remember them off the top of my head. And Jeff Loeb obviously did Long Halloween and all that good stuff. Jeff Johns I found out about after reading the Justice League, and I really liked him. And, all these guys had really hopped around from DC and Marvel at some point in their careers. Like Jeff Loeb right now, I think, is one of the showrunners on the Marvel TV shows. Yeah. So he's not even at DC anymore. And Jeff Johns was at Marvel and came over to DC. Joss Whedon's now was at Marvel and now he's heading over to DC. So
he's
he's a co-writer on the Justice League movie.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. I just liked a lot of the writers that were over at DC a lot better than I liked the writers that were at Marvel at the time, and that just made me pick up a lot of their trades, and that's really when I got started. So I'd say right around the time I was graduating high school, maybe a little before that, and it all really kind of kicked off with Batman.
That's awesome. Are you currently reading any comics?
I am currently reading. I always pick up Batman's trades.
So you're on the Rebirth.
Mm-hmm. I like Tom King. He's pretty good. I really like Snyder's run. I think Snyder and Capullo have probably had the best run in history, if not all of it. I pick up the Justice League. I read a lot of what they're doing. I wish they were a little better right now.
Definitely.
I was telling you this earlier before the podcast, but for someone that says his favorite superhero is not Flash, I sure have a crap ton of Flash. So I actually know quite a bit about his history. The Flash Rebirth series. Flashpoint's probably my favorite comic series of all time. I got a lot of Nightwing, especially original Nightwing, like Kyle Higgins and stuff like that. I really like that, and he's doing a new run on Nightwing too. And I think he's like the OG guy for Nightwing. I think he made Nightwing popular, and I feel was largely due anyway to his popularity. And he's got a new run coming out, and I think it's going under the radar. But everyone that's read it just said it's great. But it's that Nightwing. Gosh, now I can't even plug the name of it.
I can't even help you because I haven't been keeping up with Nightwing
Anyways,
or Rebirth.
Check out the new Kyle Higgins Nightwing book because I promise you it's really good.
I had to stop my subscription up there at the Empire due to raising a kid and stuff like that. I think we're my Batman Rebirth. I was collecting Batman, Justice League, Flash, Wonder Woman, and I think those were my core books that I was getting as far as Rebirth. But I think I ended a lot of them at like issue 26 or so.
Yeah.
So...
yeah,
I haven't been on top of that. Outside of superheroes, do you have a a particular comic? Are there comics that you like outside of superheroes? Such as I'm a big fan of Preacher. I'm a big fan of Ed Brubaker's Scene of a Crime. I like Sin City. Walking Dead.
I like The Walking Dead.
Are you a fan?
Yeah, I'm a fan of that comic. I don't really read too many comics outside of superheroes. I'm more of an actual physical reader of books outside of comic books. Dig it. So I read a lot of fantasy. Like I'm reading the Malazan series right now. I've read all the Game of Thrones series, all the books that are out, the Kingkiller Chronicles, just all these fantasy books. It's what I read outside of comic books. So not really big. If they're not superheroes, then I probably don't read too much of them. But I have read, here and there, The Crow and all that stuff. Yeah.
Do you have that?
Mm-hmm. I actually sat down on when he came to the Tulsa Comic Con.
Really?
What's his name? The author for The Crow. I forget his name now.
Know.
Anyways,
I love the film. I've been wanting to read The Crow.
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
He had a panel, and it was probably the best panel at the Tulsa Comic Con that year. To be honest with you, besides Robert Englund, because Robert Englund was the main guy, and he had a great panel as well.
That's awesome. So, with that being said, man, you haven't really journeyed out into other comic books outside of the superhero world. I take that as a challenge within myself to challenge you to. Like I said, I already told you I'm gonna send you home with Preacher Volume 1.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I've actually been told by a good friend named Jake that I need to check out Preacher as well. So
sweet. I got, just a couple different comic books, man, that I want you to read. I'm going to let you read Volume 1 of Preacher first. I'm going to get you done where I am with Preacher, probably Volume 4.
Yeah.
And then I got some other shit for you that I'm going to, if you accept the challenge and you're more than willing to come back.
I'm always reading.
Yeah, and you're more than willing to come back and talk about it here with me on Living With My Wife, Batman and Hip Hop.
Sounds good.
So, that's my thing. I love superhero comic books, man, but I've been finding a new love for just, stuff outside of the superhero genre, such as crime and stuff like that. I get into that real hard. I like dark gritty stuff. So
yeah, I like a lot of neo-noir stuff like that. Detective stuff I like a lot too. There's not really a lot of good detective books out there. That's what sucks. Even Batman's guilty of going on long hiatuses where he's not really too much of a detective. He's just more of a go punch a guy, go interrogate and find out, versus actual detective work. So
Ed Brubaker's Scene of a Crime, man, is one of my favorite. It's not a detective story. The guy's actually a private investigator.
Okay,
but,
I gotcha.
Man, it's pretty good. I enjoyed that thoroughly. Man, tell me about Destiny 2. I know you've been on that real hard.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I'm running a clan on there right now called Grave Watchers. Actually, I'm going to go play it right after this podcast. It's pretty intense. It's definitely a big step up from the first game. I've wrote a review on it on my website. It's got more... It's like they listened to all the complaints of the first game and really, really upped the ante with it. It's got a ton of story. The first hour of that game has more story than the other game put together, and that's not even that might be exaggerating a little bit, but not much. Not much at all. The game has way more story than the other one had. Its systems make a little more sense. There's very few criticisms I have of it, mainly in player freedom. like the ability to pick and choose what you want to do, not like so much with your character, but like actually within the world.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a criticism, I'd say, because like you can't pick. There's such a thing as like playlists, like strike playlists and clash playlists. So like PvP and PvE. Normally in the old game, you got to pick what you wanted to do. Like, okay, I want to go do this particular level. That's a hard level. Or especially with like, and this is just for all shooter games, and this is the biggest problem I have with it, is that you can't pick what you want to do in PvP. So like, if you want to play like team deathmatch or capture the flag or something like that, you can't pick which one you want to do. You just go into PvP, and it puts you on a playlist, and then whichever one it pulls out of the hat for you, that's what you're doing.
Oh, that sucks.
I know. Oh, gosh. I rant about that, how I hate that.
Question I have, man, about Destiny, and I haven't been able to get a straight answer on is, some people tell me it's open world, some people tell me it's kind of open world, some people tell me it's not open world, it's level based.
So... It's going to sound strange, but like all those answers are right.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, I know. So what it is some MMOs use a thing called shards, which is like where it's all on one server, but it's different. Like you won't be in the like. So say you've got a map, basically, like a huge open world map. Okay. Like say Skyrim, for example. It's not as big as Skyrim, but just use that for example. And say 1 million people are playing Skyrim. They're not going to put 1 million player characters on the same thing.
Like, are there different sessions, such as GTA Online?
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like that.
16 people will be on a session.
Yeah, exactly like that.
But there is a world.
But it's all the same world, yeah, and it's all one server. It's a Destiny server. It's not different servers like World of Warcraft or anything like that.
Okay.
So you're on the same server, and that allows you to team up with whoever you want instantly. You don't got to change servers to do it. It's just one big North American server. But the shards are basically like picture pieces of paper stacked on top of each other. It's all the same piece of paper. That's the level, but each stack is different. That's where your characters would be. So like 16 on the bottom, 16 on the next one, 16 on the next one, 16. They're all layered.
Like 16 people per session, or
yeah. So they're all layered on top of each other in the same world, and all those pieces of paper are in the same box, but they're not all connected to each other. You can hop from one to the other easily because they're in the same box, but it's not like 1 billion people in the same map.
Is there a lot to explore?
Yes, and it is level based because they do a planetary system. So like it's like an open world on the planet. You can run around, and it's not like a terribly huge map.
How long does it take to explore a planet?
Well, now that's tricky because they got new things called like lost sectors and stuff like that don't show up on your map. It's like little hidden loot areas, basically, that are like whole levels in themselves. So how long it takes to explore a planet, if you wanted to do it from start to finish, it would probably be like 3 hours if you were running.
That's enough time.
And doing nothing. How many
planets are there?
If you so far right now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets. I want to say maybe 6. So okay. 5 planets. Each one takes about 3 hours to fully explore. If you're not doing any missions, if you're just running to one place to the other, and not like in a straight line takes you 3 hours to get across, but like exploring everything on like that you can see. Including lost sectors, would probably take you about 3 hours if you're a casual player, like just and not doing any missions. And there's a raid, there's strikes, there's a nightfall, all that stuff is in it. Raids are obviously like any MMO raid. It takes forever. It's really annoying, god awful. I don't know why I torture myself doing those, but it's got like the best gear in it, so you do it anyway. Nightfalls are it's like a mission, boss mission, basically.
Yeah.
And nightfalls are basically like boss missions with conditions. So like
boss missions with conditions.
Yeah, exactly. So like only these guns are gonna work, or only these guns are gonna work for 30 seconds, and then another type of gun's gonna work, and that's only gonna work for 30 seconds. It rotates.
That sounds fun.
And then you're timed on top of all of it. So it's like you got 10 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
And then while it's rotating, and you can't, if your whole party dies, and you got to start over, basically stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's harder. It's a lot harder to do it. So that's pretty much Destiny, kind of in a nutshell. I think it's really fun. I do a lot of the in-game stuff like the raiding and the player versus player and stuff. So.
I'm glad I finally got somebody to come on to the show and talk about Destiny, man. I've been hollering at a couple people.
Yeah.
And nobody's sat down.
It's really fun. I play it all. This has been the game I've been playing constantly now. So
definitely. I just kind of forced you to review it for me.
Yeah, definitely.
So the fans can hear that. How much longer you got?
I don't have too long, to be honest with you. I've been trying not
well,
to stare at the clocks, but I think I got to get out of here pretty soon.
If you want to, because we still got to do laptop, you got to make it a file.
Yeah.
If you want to go ahead and plug your Nonsensical Ramblings website.
Alrighty, so you can find us at www.nonsensicalramblings.com. I'm not going to spell that for you because I will mess it up and then you will not find it and then you will blame me. So if you don't know how to spell nonsensical and ramblings and all one word, then that is your fault and I blame you. Don't come to my website. Just kidding.
Right on.
And I hope to be on here, do more podcasts and stuff like that. I work the weekends, so our schedules, don't really work out too much. So that's why you'll see a lot of, like, you guys saying, go over to the website, and you'll see a lot of the website saying, go over to the podcast. So
even if we can't be at the same place at the same time, like I said, I would just love to have you here involved with Geek World Network, meaning you can do your podcast whenever Mr. Notorious Nathan sees fit.
Well, I'll try and talk. I'll try and get a co-host on here. I've been trying to talk him into it for a while. He knows who he is, so if he agrees to it, then we'll see what we can do. But yeah, that's where you can find us. You can like us on Facebook too, also at Nonsensical Ramblings. We got a Twitter. My main editor, Cody, he hates Twitter and he doesn't use it, so I guess follow us on there for no tweets. So
right on.
We never tweet. So just Facebook and the actual website. You can just go ahead. We got a newsletter that you can sign up to at the bottom. All you got to do is create an account if you want to comment on the website, or you can just comment on Facebook. We'll take all the likes, all the hearts, all the smiley faces we can get. So
one more thing I want to do with you real quick. I'm so sorry. I know you got to go. I've been making people do this on the show here lately, and I'm trying to make it a tradition. So I'm really into impersonations.
Uh-huh.
So, do you have any impersonations? And if you do not, I would like to ask you to attempt one.
An impersonation, like celebrity impersonations?
Or I usually do superheroes because I feel like I got a good Robin, good Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, Batman.
You know what I'm saying?
I gotcha.
Anything you're into.
I don't know.
Let me hear your best Joker.
I knew you were going to ask about Joker.
That's what I've been asking everybody.
I know, that's how I knew you were going to ask about it. I don't know what I got to say. Let me see what I got to say here.
Just talk to Batman.
I know, but he's got some lines or something. What is he like? What, like Mark Hamill Joker?
Mark Hamill, Heath Ledger. You can be Jared Leto. Please don't. Jack Nicholson. Nobody does Jack Nicholson.
That's because he just talks in like a regular voice.
Yeah, easy. Give me some. I feel like Heath Ledger's lines are very quotable. So I don't know. The reason I can do my Batman is because I have panels memorized, such as The Killing Joke and The Dark Knight Returns. I've got some panels.
Yeah, see, I don't got any panels memorized, but he's got a lot of good lines in Arkham.
Are you searching some right now?
Yeah, let me look up some Arkham quotes and see.
I just thank you for, playing to, I don't know, my entertainment. I don't know. I don't even know what the hell I was trying to say. So, for, what is that? For doing this, fuck it, we'll do it easy like that. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll tell you what. I'll do my Mark Hamill Joker if you can read me in as Batman and on this quote.
You got some Batman.
Yeah, because I love this part in the game. So I'll show you the part on my phone.
All right.
Do you see where it says it was all a lie?
Yeah.
Okay, I probably won't do the quote right because I'm not looking right at the phone. But go ahead and do that.
It was all a lie. There was nothing wrong with you.
Oh, nice of you to say. But as we all know, there's plenty wrong with me.
That's good. That's probably the fucking best. And I loved it because you got to let me be Batman.
I know. You got to get a read in. All right, then.
That was amazing. All right. Well, thank you for sitting with us, Mr. Your new name is Notorious Nathan.
All righty.
So
sounds good.
New podcast. Run with it. Notorious Nathan from NonsensicalRamblings.com. Please check that out, NonsensicalRamblings.com. I'll say it one more time because I like to throw out a lot of nonsensical ramblings, NonsensicalRamblings.com. I'm your main man, Sean, something to write to, Lewis, a.k.a. your friendly neighborhood something to write to, or Comic Caster Kiddo. Please check us out at Geek World Network on YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitch, and you can find us on Facebook at Comic Caster. So thank you guys very much. This has been Living with My Wife, Batman and Hip Hop, and I do not have an outro, so I'm going to beatbox. No, I'm not. Ladies and gentlemen, goodbye.